For multiplayer in Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3, we wanted to give the player a new way to experience these classic maps. When we told the art team, we're gonna be making these maps, they lit up. They were like calling dibs on which ones they wanted to go get reference for.
Maps really come through. They feel like they felt back then. And when you're playing High Rise, when you're playing Estate, you feel really transported back. We questioned a lot of what was good about the movement of older games, what was good about the gunplay of older games, and the same with the newer games. So we tried to marry a lot of those things together.
The way we approach it is that, how are we gonna make these the best versions of those maps that people have ever played? Because that's what we wanted. That's what we want as fans.
There are places where the metrics of the level are adjusted to fit more modern gameplay, but for the most part, it's going to feel incredibly similar. The biggest changes are really in a fidelity sense. Places like Afghan, where it might have been difficult to see somebody in some of the circumstances, we have new tools to make that both look better, but also read better, so that your target acquisition is improved.
Favela is a map where it really pushed our opportunities to explore what you couldn't do in the old one and what you can do now. From an artistic side, the map has more detail than I think any other map. In High Rise, it's fun to explore and jump on the scaffolding and mantle to places that you weren't able to actually grab or reach before. Now you can get there.
When it was a question of whether it should be like the original or whether it should be more modern in terms of the metrics, we went with the original. And we pushed very hard to make sure that that experience was as close to the original as we possibly could while we modernized the look of the map.
I've seen people play it for the first time and they don't really know what they're gonna see, and when that load screen shows up for Favela or for Quarry, you see them light up like, oh my gosh, these are the maps that I've been hoping they would remake.
The whole team here is super excited to bring all of these maps to fans everywhere.
That was our first look at Modern Warfare 3 multiplayer gameplay, and how beautiful do these remastered maps look. We need to go ahead and talk about them, because beyond what was said in that video, we have new details about how exactly these maps have been recreated. Now, as you could clearly see, these have been faithfully recreated just as we remember them. But before we dive into some of the more specifics on these maps, we have to talk about the one clip we got of brand new actual multiplayer gameplay here. We got it hit on High Rise with what looks like the mini Uzi, and even though this is only a few seconds, already you can just tell how much faster and fluid the game is compared to Modern Warfare 2. Like, this is a drastic improvement in the overall speed and fluidity of Modern Warfare 2. Like, genuinely, the gameplay looks like it's sped up if it was Modern Warfare 2, because that just looks so fast and fluid, and that's exactly what we've wanted for the last year, which looks fantastic. The movement speed itself seems to be increased, and that wasn't even with a tactical sprint. This is just normal sprint, but it just looks like a drastic improvement. I'd love to know what you guys think below. But there are places where the metrics of the level are adjusted to fit more modern gameplay, but for the most part, it will feel exactly the same. And as it's been 14 years since these maps originally debuted, there has been a few changes that have been made, and an example given is the vehicles lining the streets in various locations throughout the Favela map, where there are different models of the cars now compared to 2009. There'll be other areas that have received touches that improve the gameplay, but also enhance the visibility and the scenic detail, where some buildings might have a different color or be made of a completely different material. But what makes this all look so incredible is the lighting, where they have an in-game illumination technique which noticeably brightens up areas in the original maps that were previously way darker, such as Favela's central alleyways. But as mentioned, 14 years later, there has been drastic changes to the way that the Call of Duty movement and animation is, so now we can tactical sprint, mantle to climb up to places we couldn't before, leap between rooftops, and navigate alleyways using the new tactical stance. Now, an insane thing for all of these maps is that you wouldn't expect it, but every single one of these maps has been built from the ground up, rather than being repurposed as points of interest that we've seen before, like in Al Mazrah with Afghan. This has been completely remade, which just makes these remade maps feel even more special. But there are some very specific changes made in certain maps that we need to touch upon, like in Estate, where the lake behind the boathouse is now accessible for wet works, where players can swim in and under the water and swim out to a platform overlooking that area. There's also a greater military presence on the Estate grounds than there were before. You can see see it in this screenshot where there's a tank that's driving up towards the hill, which was not there before. Skid Row has had some cosmetic changes where the bookshop is now a movie store. The ceiling has been repaired. The lights are back on for greater visibility when passing through. And there's been more lighting improvements made in areas like the hallway and tunnels that ensure that you can see players against the environment. Another map that's had some changes is Rust, which is one that we saw in Modern Warfare 2019, and it's in Al Mazrah, but this looks really different to both of those versions. And an adjustment that's been made of the open pipe jutting out a corner that many campers would stay in, this has now been replaced by a new small building, keeping the fight out in the open. With the additional verticality and mantle mechanics, you are now able to climb that central tower and the surrounding containers with greater agility than you ever could before. Now, this next map is one that I am so excited, and one that we got the most focus on in the trailer, which is High Rise. Now, this layout has been updated, but there are now a ton of different interior details like arcade machines, movie posters, and video game systems throughout. And we've got a hint as well that the classic secret pathway that you could use to climb up to get on top of one of the rooftops is going to be here as well, which will give you an unmatched rooftop position. Now, whilst it's incredibly exciting that we're getting all of these remastered maps at launch, all 16 of them, there are actually going to be 20 maps that are coming at launch, including 4 massive environments, which are going to be comprising of 3 brand new battle maps, where ground war and invasion game modes will be fought against monumental backdrops. But there will also be a gargantuan-sized war map, as Modern Warfare 3 marks the welcome return and evolution of the war game mode that was in 2017's Call of Duty World War II. And something I did not expect to be hearing about so soon is details about content coming for Season 1 and Season 2 of Modern Warfare 3, as they're promising over 12 all-new 6v6 maps in the seasons, with 3 all-new 6v6 maps hitting in Season 1 and 3 all-new 6v6 maps hitting in Season 2, along with additional maps and modes throughout future seasons. And for them to be upfront with that so early on, I think is a really healthy sign that there is a lot of content to come for this game. Now, we got our first look at multiplayer gameplay today, but you're going to see the entire of multiplayer revealed on October 5th, as I've been invited to LA for the Call of Duty Next event, where I'll be live streaming Modern Warfare 3 multiplayer as part of the Call of Duty Next showcase. And then straight after Next, the following day, will be the first weekend of the multiplayer open beta exclusively on PlayStation, where you'll have access to play a ton of the game and the multiplayer ahead of its launch on November 10th. But I gotta hand it to Sledgehammer Games here. The remasters visually look absolutely incredible. The lighting as well. The fact that this game is only a year ahead of Modern Warfare 2, but looks like a very noticeable upgrade in visual quality, as well as that gameplay clip of the movement and the mantling as well. This really does feel like the game that we wanted to have, and this really seems like a drastic improvement from Modern Warfare 2. It's so hard to judge from just a short 5-second gameplay clip, but it's already looking really promising from what we've seen alone just from that. But I'd love to know what you think down below. Be sure to like the video and subscribe so you don't miss out on the Modern Warfare 3 multiplayer reveal here on the channel, as well as anything else that we get to see from COD Next. And I'll see you guys for another video very soon.